before 2012 or 13, nobody knew what is payment gateway as a general consumer. We actually started branding the payment gateway, which was like first of its kind in the market. So every time you did a transaction as a consumer, you could see our brand as well. And this branding helped in creating the trust among the consumer that if I'm using Citrus Payment Gateway, it's a trustworthy transaction, and I think that really helped us and helped merchants in increasing conversions. Like today, if you look at it, every payment gateway kind of wants to brand itself, but I think that was a
Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of Stars and Startups with me, your host, Varun Pumidi. This is episode 12. We chat with Jitendra Gupta, the co-founder of Citrus Payments, an online payment company that has sold to its rival, PayU, in 2016. Post which Jiten went on to run PayU's consumer play, LazyPay. As a lot of you already know, Jiten has become a prominent angel investor with some blockbuster investments in Ridlr Trafline, which sold to Ola, JoeHukum, that was acquired by Freshworks, Khatabook, that bagged about $60 million in capital, and Bank Open, that has raised about $37 million in capital from Tiger Global. And the big one, the craft beer maker, Bira 91, the maker of India's favorite white beer. We cover a lot of ground in the limited time with Jiten, so buckle up for a monster episode. We get into the origins of Citrus, sale to PayU, angel investing, and scratch the surface on what's cooking at Jiten's latest startup, Jupiter Money, for which has raised about $26 million on just an idea to create a better banking experience. On to the show. Hey guys, today it's going to be extremely special. I have Jiten Gupta, who is my ex-boss. I worked with him at Citrus. You probably know him of Citrus fame, and now probably the guy who scored a lot of money, to start his new venture, Jupiter. But before I get into all that, I'm going to go back to the roots of Citrus and Jiten. So, hi Jiten, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Varun. Good to see you again after like what, almost a year.
Almost a year. I saw you when you came down to Gurgaon and on your flying trips.
Right. Yeah.
How's lockdown treating you?
I mean, I must say that the life has become more busier and uh, uh, the productivity has gone up. That being said, I think at like 7 p.m. ish or so, I feel very drained out. And thanks to these Zoom calls, which we are on right now, because your attention span has to be like spot on, and you can't afford to drift away. So, which is not there in the personal meetings where you can still pick up your phone, check messages, and so. So yeah, so it's more draining, I would say.
Zoom fatigue is real. I think we see that. And to manage Zoom fatigue, it looks like you have a pretty nice wallpaper or your virtual background, which is also pretty funky.
Yeah, it's a virtual background.
Was that designed by IKEA?
No, there is this website which has this nice virtual backgrounds you can pick it up from, especially designed for Zoom.
Fantastic. Jiten, I would love to understand, kind of, you're raised in Jaipur, right? You're a Jaipur boy. How do you
That's
end
right.
up? How do you end up in Bombay? How do you end up in at ICICI? Just a quick, kind of background.
So, I was sort of born, brought up in Jaipur. I did my schooling there. I moved to Mumbai in 99 for my graduation. So I did my graduation from Sydenham College of Commerce. I did CA alongside. Uh, I think it was pretty fascinating because I sort of came all alone to Mumbai and settled down here, and I've gone through on my own phase of struggle. And the Mumbai sort of gives you a lot, teaches you a lot in terms of like how to sort of keep going, keep pushing yourself, keep aspiring. So that's the beauty of Mumbai, I would say. And the 2000 2002 is when I graduated. 2003 is when I did my CA, and and I think when you sort of just graduate, you pick up a job which is paying you the highest. So that is the aspiration. So I did join ICICI, and that was the highest paid job I could get at that point of time. So did pick up that, worked there. So I joined there with a very clear objective that I will leave in 1 year, 1.5 years. Ended up sticking around 7.5 years. So just
Wow.
didn't realize how the time flew by, but I enjoyed every moment. I enjoyed every role I did there. So I was part of retail banking, investment banking, payment strategy. So yeah, I must say I had a fascinating time. And I would say that most of the foundation which has the entrepreneurial foundation which is helping me was built during ICICI days, where ICICI gives you a lot of autonomy to operate. Decision making was allowed. So I think a lot of things I learned there, which is where it really helped me a lot.
I
So
think I
yeah,
think
that's
in those days, ICICI and HDFC Bank, the largest private banks, groomed a lot of talent. They gave a lot of people, good people, a lot of leeway to play with.
Well, completely agree. I mean, I think the beauty was the scale of execution and the autonomy of decisions. I think both the things are like must have for any entrepreneurial stint, and which I thank to ICSA that I could get that experience very very early on.
That's how you met Amrish as well, right? And
Yeah.
and that's how Citrus came about.
That's right. So I met Amrish in 2007, and when I was sort of in the payments division, and we were exploring the strategic partnership with First Data, and Amrish was the CEO of First Data India, and so yeah. So after initial, I would say the love hate relationship, I think we hit off well in terms of uh, the. The got to know each other very well, and I think I personally learned a lot from Amrish, I would say, in terms of the strategic thinking, in terms of how the business is being run, and economics of the business. And Amrish has been a veteran in payments that way. So uh, so I left ICICI in 2010, and the first thing I did was met Amrish, spoke to him saying that I want to start, and the payments is the thing which I'm thinking. And unfortunately, Amrish was like, yeah, if you're doing this, I'll back you. And so that was a level of comfort we had. Yeah, it was a pretty interesting start we had. So we know each other since 2008, 7 actually.
So when I was in Jabong in around 2011-12, payments was very nascent. I don't think I ever saw Citrus was one of the options that were evaluated at that time. Actually, even PayU didn't exist. At least
Right.
I wasn't evaluating PayU when I got the payment gateway that I've done for Jabong. When did this come about? I think around 2012, end of 2012. What did you guys focus on the first 2 years when you started Citrus?
So 2011 mid is when we started thinking on it, and I think 2011 September is when Sequoia also invested in us. But it took usual 6-7 months in setting up the initial platform. So 2012 January is when we launched. I think the initial 2 year the focus was very simple: get some scale, get the product market fit, try solving some basic problems around uptime, reliability, service. So we did that, and we went through our own struggle period in terms of because we had no credibility. So it was difficult to convince the merchants that we could do the job, and payment is the most critical point for any merchant. So for drawing the trust from the merchant was not an easy job, but we sort of kept pushing ourselves. And I think uh, our initial merchants really helped us endorse in terms of our service, in terms of our responsiveness and all. And that really helped us keep getting more merchants and keep getting progress. So I would say the responsiveness and adaptability to what merchants were needing, I think that was the key.
When you were building Citrus, I remember you had a large focus on certain segments, and you were leaders in those segments.
Yeah.
Be OTAs, travel, transport, entertainment with Inox, PVR,
Yeah.
etc. What is the thought process there? Because I know that PayU was a well-backed company, and you were also going after the same. And I don't think you had as much capital as they did. What
Right.
what was the focus there, and how did you manage to get uh, you know all those clients?
So I think the strategy was very simple. So we realized that the e-commerce is a space where the merchants' needs were more, transactions were not that frequent, and and then there were so many e-commerce sites which were springing up, and which sort of mortality was also very high. So we took this conscious call that we will cater to e-commerce only if it is a very large merchant or a self-serviced merchant. But we will not put our sales team to pitch to e-commerce merchants. So rather, we invested our efforts in getting the merchants where there were frequent transactions, which is mainly like bus ticketing, movie ticketing, flight ticketing, and that and unfortunately that segment PayU at that point was not that active, and there was already a fatigueness of existing partners on these merchant side. So we sort of leveraged that fatigueness, and really helped us gain the momentum in offering these merchants new solutions, the responsive checkouts, the better uptime, reliability. So I think that it took us time to build the scale, because these merchants were not growing 100% every 6 months or every 3 months, the way e-commerce was growing. But these merchants gave us more stability in terms of the volume of transactions. So they were like set volume with 10% growth or 15% growth. So uh, so when this whole e-commerce market started crashing in 2014 or something, we clearly saw the benefit of thinking strategic, where our volumes were less impacted. So I think that was a strategy.
I also remember some of the partnerships that you had at that time to launch Citrus. I think one of that was with ICICI as well. How important was that to kind of get momentum? And how did you crack that?
So definitely, I'm ex-ICICI, right? So the most of the people who are working there are my ex-colleagues. So I don't think so that was a difficult part. I think the momentum we got, definitely because of ICICI, initially, because at least ICICI was able to endorse our product, and that really helped us create the credibility in the market. And like our sales team was just 3 people team, so the initial distribution also we could leverage on the ICICI strength. So that was a plus point. That being said, uh, for ICICI we were not that priority. So it was like, how a the sales guy always does his job first, and then sees, oh, what all I can do more. So yeah, we had to do our own job of convincing merchants, convincing our proposition. But yes, initial intros we could leverage. So that was really helpful.
One of the things that I remember we had a lot of conversations was about consumer versus enterprise, right? And business, B2B. What was the thought process at that time? Because I know it is a B2B business, and there's different economics that come with B2B. And of course, the B2C economics are completely different. Uh,
Right. So if you look at it, before 2012 or 13, nobody knew what is payment gateway as a general consumer. We actually started branding the payment gateway, which was like first of its kind in the market. So every time you did a transaction as a consumer, you could see our brand as well. And this branding helped in creating the trust among the consumer that if I'm using Citrus Payment Gateway, it's a trustworthy transaction. And I think that really helped us and helped merchants in increasing conversions. Like today, if you look at it, every payment gateway kind of wants to brand itself. But I think that was a trend started by us. That led us to thinking that if consumers know us, why don't we create a B2C proposition for consumers? So this is where we had this concept of citrus account, if you remember, where users could save their credit card, debit card details, address, shipping address, name, email, phone number, and then we could leverage that to fast forward the transaction experience. That We kept on pushing. We had a, like, I would say, 10 odd million such cards stored with us, where Citrus account was there. But somehow, I think it didn't scale. It didn't scale because there was still a friction, because all of these wallets which came in 2014, they started sort of giving cashbacks and rebates, rewards, incentives. That our offering got mixed up with that. While we were never initially focusing on stored value as a offering, our offering was more around faster checkout. So, but since it got mixed up, we also got drifted towards creating the stored value, because we saw there is a consumer uptake happening. So, are we missing that? We should do that as well. And I think we sort of did that for 2 years, and we got good success also. And I think that was a business you were leading, right? So we got good success in the merchant base, uh, but somehow the market saw so much of cashback adoption from few players, that somehow we decided to stay away from that. And I think so one of the when in hindsight, one of the realization I see is that uh, I think in a consumer thing, you got to be ready with all the scenarios in terms of sometimes however good your product is, the money can change the course. Uh, and uh, and I think that's what happened with our product, that the existing players money power kind of forced us to walk back on the path as far as that B2C ambition was concerned. So, but these 2 years, there was this huge debate and this huge discussions in the company and all of that. So I think all of those circles we went into.
Did you guys actually think credit was a feature and that was easy to launch? How did, because I know you ended up building LazyPay from scratch. I think the second time. So uh, how did that come about? Because you've already seen or had the experience with consumer play and what drives adoption in consumer. And I know credit is somewhat easier because you're actually giving somebody money, or at least enabling that. What was the thought behind that transition? Um,
So I think initial thought, Varun, was not about credit. The initial thought again was faster transaction experience or faster checkout. So we said that the maximum transaction drop used to happen when a consumer has entered the payment details, and after that completing the payment. And this is where the maximum drops were happening. We said, what if we sort of debundle or uncouple the payment and purchase process. So if purchase means payment done. So if we can give that experience to consumer, the merchant will be happy, consumer will be happy, and in a way we would be able to create a business model. And that sorry, that really worked well actually. So that's how the LazyPay came into existence. But over a period, we realized that the segment of consumers which we were seeing, they were 50-60% segment which were using it for convenience, but a 30-40% consumers started using it for credit, and we saw that as an opportunity again, and that's how the natural convergence into a credit product which happened. So it was not by initial design, but I think we learned on the way while getting the product market fit that this is the best way to have the product roadmap.
In your journey in Citrus, so 2012 until acquisition by PayU, when did you think, or did you ever think in this journey that you've made it? Like, was there a moment you said, you know what, we can actually sit back because things are going to be fine from here?
I think when you run a startup, it's never that way. So even when you are established, even when I see that, let's say, Make My Trip, they have been at a number one position. I'm sure they also don't feel they made it. You look at COVID. COVID changed everything for everyone. So I think in a business scenario, you never sit back and say that the work is happening and you don't need to worry. So you got to be extra paranoid always, and there's always pressure to stay ahead. Always pressure to keep doing things which you can push the company into orbit where others can't copy or others can't follow. So I don't remember a moment where I felt that we made it, frankly.
So is that why you've named your new company Jupiter, because already in orbit?
Oh yeah,
Um,
that.
no, we'll get to Jupiter. We'll get to Jupiter in a bit.
Yeah.
But fast track to selling to PayU and then spending time in PayU and building all of this. Was that ever part of the exit strategy when you started off? You felt like I'm sure you wanted to dominate the market and continue to build the Citrus brand.
So I think when we sold the business to PayU, also that year we had growth, 2.5x growth. So it was not like business had any lull cycle for that matter. So I think when we met PayU folks, we realized that that was a better outcome for the company, for the shareholders. Exits are difficult in any market, in any situation. So we could provide exit to our investors. So that was one positive thing. Second, I think when we did this 1+1 analysis, that PayU plus Citrus, we realized that together both the companies could do a much better job rather than competing head on. And I think we were competing head on, frankly. So I think combination in hindsight, it actually created a 1+1 equal to 11. We got so many synergies, both in terms of profits, in terms of scale, in terms of efficiency. So in hindsight, the decision was very good when it comes to Citrus as a business standpoint. From a founder standpoint, maybe we could have taken the company to a different level if it was standalone. Maybe the company outcome would have been different. But yeah, at that point of time, you take the call keeping in mind what's the market scenario, what is the opportunity you have in hand, what are the potential risk to your scale plan. Considering all of those, I think that call was best.
Awesome. Jiten, we have reached the end of your journey with Citrus. And of course, you got a good payday. And I think a lot has been written about that. But also the world has seen you transform. Even Amrish and Satyen and all of you guys started investing in startups. There was a phase, I believe, even prior to the sale, you were backing startups. You have, from my knowledge, you're invested in Bira, you're invested in some really interesting companies, and it's quite a lot of companies to name, and a few of them got acquired. I think now you own stock in Ola. There's a whole lot of stuff happening over there. But has there ever been a theme? Did you ever think, I'm going to look for companies, or whenever opportunities came by, you're like, okay, this sounds interesting. How did you think about your investments? During that phase of investing.
So I think if you look at it, the majority of the investment, when I say majority, 97, 98% of the investments happened post the sale. Because prior to sale, frankly, I did not have enough liquidity also to invest. So that was the reality. So post the sale, the way I looked at it is that I would have that my knowledge in payments was building up, and plus that was only restricted as well. So I was not exposed to other sectors. So could I do on my own the businesses in all these sectors? Definitely not. So I was like, by way of investing, I'll get the exposure of other sectors. I will get to learn. So it's kind of a tuition fee, I see. So you pay tuition fee, you learn faster, you learn with keenness, uh, and of course the ability to get friends with good founders. So I think that was another thing, because the new breed of entrepreneurs which was coming in from 2016 onwards, I must say that breed is much better as compared to our times. More innovative, more frugal thinking, hustlers. So from that perspective, I was like, it's a beautiful time to put your money to good use, and in turn, you could end up making some money also. So I think the return part was the last consideration, but the first two considerations was your learning part, and the learning from the businesses and learning from the fellow founders. So that those were first two considerations.
How is your portfolio doing now? Do you keep track, or you've not really spent time on it?
So I don't get much time now, but I must say the private portfolio has done at least 10x better than public portfolio. So 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 I'm happy with my private portfolio. I'm very unhappy with my public portfolio. So public market portfolio. So yeah, so no complaints on private portfolio.
The share price of a private portfolio doesn't change every day according to sentiments of the public. So I think you've probably not evaluated the open market.
Oh
But
yeah, maybe that's the case. Yeah.
what do you get involved with these founders? I mean, now with COVID and there's some uncertainty that, I mean, you as a founder, you've also seen some ups and downs. What kind of advice do you give them? Have founders reached out to you? How are you guiding them during this time?
So the one, I never get involved on a operational basis with any founder, because I think founders do that job very very well. So I stay away from that. That being said, there is I'm always available to my invested companies, where whenever they feel they want to make a decision where they need my help. So the decision could be related to hiring, the decision could be related to fundraising, the decision could be related to specific business decision. So if I can help, I do give my perspective. I ask questions which sometimes when you're too much into the thick of it, you don't think. So I think that's the only value add I do. Do I know their business better? I definitely don't know their business better than the founders. So, and neither I claim that I've seen this and I've done this, so you should listen to me. I think that's a very bad approach in my view. So I think uh, uh, my contribution to their company is restricted to helping them in decision making wherever they need. Unless they don't call me, I don't call them in terms of that you should do it this way. That is not the way I operate.
Jiten, when they see super angels like you make investments, etc., a lot of professionals, and you're talking about tuition fee, they also want to get involved, right? Who should get involved in angel investing? And are there things that they should think about while doing it?
I think the angel investing is kind of has become more of a cool factor. It seems like in last couple of years because every guy who has got some money, when I meet the person, he or she tells me, oh, they also invest. They also do angel investing, and they sort of kind of show it off. So, but I'm not sure that is the right way. In fact, by investing into companies like this, you are putting your money to risk without understanding the business model, without understanding the market opportunity, without understanding the founder capability. So, in my view, if you got some extra money to throw down the drain, maybe you should invest for sure. Uh, but unless you uh, unless you have ability to contribute to the decision making, you should stay away because it sort of can create a lot of bad situation where things are not going well. You try to control the founder, you try to advise the founder, which founder is not listening to. So all of those things can happen. So yeah, so the angel investing should be done with a pinch of salt, not should not be done for showing off. So that's my advice.
Awesome. I had actually asked a few folks, what would you ask Jiten about his investing? And one of the questions that came up quite often was, how do you get deal flow?
So I don't think so. I actively look to invest anywhere. The deal flow is mainly the ex-employees or the founder network or the people we have worked with as a client. So like say let's look at Loadshare. Raghu was like at a product head at Myntra, and we used to interact with him. So when he was leaving Myntra, he called me up that I'm starting this, and since I interacted with him, so I had so much of comfort on him to put money into. So I think the deal flow has happened more of that way, where I have known the founder from previous working relationship, or the founder has come through a very strong reference. I think there might be one incident or two incident where, as an exception, where I invested without knowing the founder, and I must say it hasn't worked that well. So my thesis has further got reinforced that either of the conditions should be satisfied, which is either I should have known the founder through working relationship, or he should have come through a very strong reference. So that's how I go about it.
Awesome. Jiten, we're going to jump into the last segment because you have limited time and I want to get the most out of this. We're going to talk about Jupiter. One of the things that has happened and that a lot of people are curious about is, hey, can only successful founders raise this kind of capital with just an idea, right?
So I don't think so, right? So I think yes, that gives the comfort to investors in terms of putting the large checks. But that being said, I've seen people raising large capital in their first stint also. So like I know the case of Everything Capital and all of that, where they've raised like 30-40 million dollar kind of checks, or Incred you look at it. So the people have raised large capital otherwise also. So but investors get comfortable if they have seen you in your previous avatar, your ability to manage money, your ability to create business, the decision makings you make. So that gives additional comfort for sure.
What is your ambition at Jupiter now? We've seen a lot of talk about neobanks, and I think that's a question that a lot of people have is what is a neobank? Is it relevant? And I mean, I think more from besides that, what is your ambition for Jupiter?
So I think The ambition is very simple. So that how do you provide the banking experience more simple, give the control of banking experience to the user, and in that make them financially savvy, and meet their personal financial goals. So I think that is what the ambition is. Now I've said so many things, but I think the key is you put consumer at the center when you deal with their finances rather than the organization interest first. And I think this is where the big disconnect comes in. So today, when your bank's RM calls you, the first thing which comes to your mind is, "Eh, कुछ तो चिपकाने वाला है अभी. He's gonna sell me something which I don't need." I think that is the image that you want to change. That is the perception you want to change. Where how do we interact with consumer in an unbiased manner, and which is more relevant or contextual to his or her financial journey. I think that is what we want to go for, and that is what we are building.
Fantastic. In this current journey, what's the first thing you started investing in? Because when you have this kind of capital, sometimes it's very hard to allocate it, especially because you want to uh, balance it between having a runway, building the best product, and of course having the launch that you hope it has, because you want the success to to have that momentum. Just like with ICICI partnership, right? At Citrus, where did you start investing first?
So we started investing in the team, and that is the only investment we have made, right? So being a single founder, there were so many gaps in the organization building which we had to fill. So on the engineering front, on the product front, on the operations front, and all. So I think we invested heavily into teams, and I take proud in saying that if you check our team, maybe that's one of the most committed and talented team which we got on board. So that is what I'm really proud of. Uh, that being said, while we raised good amount of capital, the idea was very simple, that this is a capital which we are not going to spend in a year or in 18 months. So we definitely we have created a runway of 2.5 years at least. And so this was a question which was asked by most of our investors, that if you don't need capital for 2.5 years, why are you raising so much? And I think I was very clear that I did not want to chase vanity metrics. I did not want to go after the high burn game. Rather, I wanted to build a business slow and steady. And now more so in this COVID situation, it is emerging that the businesses who have done high burn game and all, they're finding it difficult to survive. They're finding it difficult to cope up with new situations. So I think that's the path which we took, and fortunately it's playing to our strength.
What was the key learnings that you took away from Citrus that you're implementing now, that you hope you don't make the same mistakes again?
I think and it was I would say situational. So one of the learning was that we did not raise large amount of capital in Citrus, right? So from that perspective, that when it came to team hiring, we are always hiring for the moment. We never at least for the first 3 years, we always was struggling for scale, and then the existing team. And I'm talking about the mid-level team and all. Our senior team was like pretty good. The existing team was not able to scale, so there was this always chasing recruitment with the scale. So that was the biggest challenge we saw. The other was having a very clear, defined product roadmap. So I think, at least from a clarity perspective, I think we were always like hustling every month, that this month we'll develop this month we'll develop this. So I think there was more chaos, I would say. So that's the part which we want to, or which we are keeping it away to the extent possible. And the startups are chaos for sure, and we are seeing chaos here as well in my current startup. But yeah, it is lesser than the first one. So these are a couple of things which I'm implementing.
There was a buzz around town that you were acquiring product and tech teams. And I think a lot of people got different calls from different quarters. So to solve for this, was that the best way to get a cohesive tech team together? It's like, okay, if they work together already, there's already some learning, and that results in better outcomes for the startup.
So we were not. So we were definitely looking for acquiring the product and tech team, but just one team, not not number of teams. So I think maybe there is this confusion, and we did, in fact, we did acquire one small tech team of 4 tech members, but we did not do any other acquisition or acquire post that. So all of the team members have joined us from different places, and either they're ex-entrepreneurs or ex-professionals, like the professionals who worked at various companies, internet companies, or Amazon or Flipkart, and all of that. So yeah, but other than one such team, I don't think we were looking to acquire number of teams.
Okay. Now that's put to rest. One of the things that people probably told us quite a lot when building a team out of Bombay or Maharashtra is that tech talent nahi hai, right? And if you're building a product tech company, is that true? Is that the reason why you're building your tech team out of Bangalore? What's the thought there? Is that true? Can you not build a tech company out of Bombay?
So then this is the experience we took from Citrus, right? So if you remember, in Citrus, we had our tech team in Pune, and then we moved to Bangalore. And then in LazyPay also, we had it in Bangalore. So those learnings were there. So this time from day one itself, I set up office in Bangalore as well as Mumbai, so that we don't have this learning path again or struggle against the reality that the Bangalore has got better tech talent. That being said, we have been able to hire this time the tech talent in Mumbai as well. So our tech team is split across Mumbai and Bangalore. Similarly, product team is split across Mumbai and Bangalore. But we always followed this model of Zoom calls and all of that, remote working, and many people were questioning us, saying, as a startup, how can you have 2 offices and all? But now you look at the situation. Now anyway, there are like as many employees means as many offices effectively. So we did not face any issue when this COVID situation happened, that how the work culture will be impacted, or how we coordinate the various stuff ongoing at a closely working and all of that. So we're pretty used to it.
COVID has obviously changed a lot of perceptions and perspective for people. So I think the questions around meeting or flying to meet just for a couple of hours in a different city, working from different locations, I think will start becoming less of a challenge for people for creating friction. And hopefully we'll learn, right? I think there's a phase of learning that we'll have, which we will go through, and we're put in the situation to be able to have that learning. Jiten, quick question on now trying to differentiate Jupiter, trying to create a good product. Is there a killer feature that you're developing, and when are we going to see this? When are you going to launch?
We are still looking for that killer feature, for that matter. Frankly, in India, the banking system is fairly evolved, and it is very, very difficult to find one thing which will draw consumers. So what that means is you have to do like small things, many, which where the consumer experiences you can fix, which are the pain points today, and then make the overall experience better. Like I give this example of Zoom. Like, is there any one killer feature in Zoom which makes it better than Hangout or Skype or something else? I think it's a overall experience which contributes to the video calling, why Zoom has become famous. So the same thing. I think in banking, to earn trust, you need to do many things with the consumer and fix many experiences.
Fantastic. Jiten, we're nearing the end of our discussion. I know that you're probably still hiring. Are you hiring? If you'd like to give a shout out to people who want to, join your team, what would you tell them?
So yes, we are hiring on the tech side. We are also considering now hiring on the digital marketing side. So if you come across any good talent on tech and very strong growth hack kind of digital marketing kind of guys, just feel free to refer.
Any advice for entrepreneurs at the moment?
I think the only advice I would say persistence. Persistence is the key to success. So you have to. I mean, there will be ups and downs. There will be lows and highs, but you keep pushing yourself, and you don't know, right? That while you don't see the ray of light today, but if you are at it, I think you will definitely see the success. So perseverance is the key.
Have you ever had any CEO role models?
Ever had any CEO role models in the sense where which I look up to?
That's right.
Yeah, I would say Amrish is one clearly,
He
which I
was a
look
very
up.
young CEO as well. So he has a lot of
Yeah,
learning.
yeah. So Amrish is one. Then my ex boss in ICICI, Sandeep Bakshi, who is like now the CEO of ICICI Bank. I really look up to him. I learned a lot from him. So yeah, there are these couple of people I really appreciate and learn a lot from them.
How many hours of sleep do you get every night?
I would say you should ask how many hours of uninterrupted sleeps because of the two kids. I don't think so. I get uninterrupted sleep of more than 3 hours or 4 hours. So, but yeah, I'm sleeping 7 8 hours a day. So so
That's
pretty
healthy.
okay with. Yeah, that's healthy sleep. Yeah.
Fantastic. Jiten, thanks so much. This has been amazing.
Yeah, thanks, Varun. Thanks for organizing this and making it an interesting conversation.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the episode. This is the end of episode 12 of Stars and Startups with me, Varun Bumri. Send me a message on Twitter. I'd love to know what you guys think about the show. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you on the next episode. See ya. Hey guys, just wanted to take a moment to let you guys know, to subscribe to my channel on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this podcast, and even Spotify. You can also subscribe my newsletter on stars.substack.com to get intimated whenever new episodes release. You don't want to miss any more of the awesome conversations we're working really, really hard to bring to you. Okay, back to the show.